Hey everyone, this is Tom from VermiBag. I want to do a quick video just show you another way to install the rod supports if you happen to make a wood stand. The video I did before showed drilling holes through the wood, basically before you could insert the rod here. It would come out the other side and then you have to drill it through here. It is a little bit difficult, especially if you have a larger wood here in the center. I found a much easier way of doing it, and actually gives you the opportunity to use a lot of different materials. And what that is actually installing the rod right on the top, just slotting the wood on both sides here, for this will sit down just slightly, and it works really well. And then you can use all kinds of different types of materials. This happens to be some aluminum tubing that works really well. You can use the aluminum rods like I use most of the time. Or I'm going to show you, you can actually use like a 7-inch barn nail. So, but just to show you, this system has the little eyelet screws I show on the video on my instructions as an alternate method. But you can tell by looking at it, you can see how the webbing is clumped up pretty bad. It's not the perfect solution to hanging the bag. It doesn't distribute the weight perfectly on the corners. So look at this versus this. Big difference. This is with one of the new rods installed flush with the top here. But you can see now this webbing is just perfectly even across. It's directing all the weight right directly to the corner of the bag. And this is really easy to install. So I'm going to show you quickly how I do it. I'm converting this bag, I'm pulling out the eyelets, and I'm replacing it with rods on the corners. So we'll set it up and do one of the corners. So the first thing you're going to need to do is mark where your rod, whatever it happens to be, where it's going to go. So in this case here, I want to position it about right here, just where it misses the corner of this leg. And most of my stands now I've been making with 2x2s as the legs, because if it was a 2x2 it would actually be right in this section here and you wouldn't have any issues with the rod running into it. If you use 2x4s, it's going to come out here quite a bit further here, and you either need a longer rod that's actually going to throw off where the bag sits, because the bag's designed to be with the strap to be at about this position, not here, because if you have the position here, the bag's going to drop lower. So the other alternative would be to notch the actual 2x4 slightly too, for this rod will sit down. So I'm going to position this about right there. Okay, and then I'm just going to mark. And whatever material you decide to use, the thickness here you're marking this is going to be different. So this is the area right here and right here that I need to notch out. So, and you can easily take like a hacksaw, and I can go from one side to the other. So I'm going through here, and I'm also going through here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark. I'm going to do this side first, right here. Just get a little bit of a indentation right here. And then I'm going to go over to the other side and make an indentation, keeping it lined up with this one. Okay, so I have a small indentation here and a small indentation here, so I know exactly where I want to cut it. Now, don't cut these too wide, because otherwise things are going to be really, really sloppy. You really want it about the width of whatever material you're going to use. And perfect scenario is to actually angle these in on both sides, for this will kind of wedge down into it. So I'm going to speed this up. I'm just going to go ahead and cut down about half of or a little over half of the width of the hacksaw blade down into this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so that was real simple. It just took me a couple minutes to do that. So now I want to take a screwdriver, and I basically want to position the screwdriver down in one of the slots, and I'm just going to pull it just to kind of break this material here on both of these. So if I stick it down in there and just give it a little pull, it'll start breaking down, and I can remove this. Now any excess material, I can take it's going to be fairly flat for it's down. It's a little bit higher in this end here. So I'm going to take the screwdriver on the side here and just tap it just a smidgen, just to get. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there I got a good indentation here on this side. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to tap that down in a little bit, give it a pull, and that material comes out. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to stick the screwdriver on the end and try and get it down to an even level across this thing. If you have a wood file or a wood chisel, it would work really well for this. I don't happen to have one, but it's a little high on this end here, so I'll stick it right here. Just give it a little. Okay, now that you got your slots cut, you take the material that you measured with. In this case, it was this aluminum rod. And you can see that the aluminum rod will just fit right inside these slots really well. And once you have weight on this rod, it's not going to go anywhere. If you're concerned about it, you can take a small wood screw and angle it in at a corner like this here, and it'll keep it in there really well. But once you have it here, then all you have to do is cut your rod again at this length. And it's easier to cut this actually if you put the weight of the bag on it. This thing will be fixed really well, and you can just cut this at an angle here. Be sure to sand down these edges a little bit with some rough sandpaper or something to get the sharp edges off. Now if I was using another option would be like an aluminum rod, which is much easier to cut. I would have had to have made my slots a little bit wider. You can see it doesn't fit down inside here. But another really simple way of doing this, inexpensive, is to use a 7-inch barn nail. You can get these at Home Depot and stuff. And this barn nail will fit right across here perfectly too. And what's nice is the head of the nail here, once I tap this in, it'll hold it in position. And the point is actually not sticking out the other edge. So I'll show you how to put, I'm going to do it with this right now just to show you how simple it is. I'm going to pull off the bag off of the eyelet support, thread it through this, and I'll set it inside here and tap it in and show you what it looks like. And you want to make sure when you put these on the material that the webbing's flat. It gets bunched up quite a bit when you have it on those eyelets. So when you put it on back onto these rods, make sure that you have it all smoothed out completely. So position your nail about like that, and then all I have to do here is just take one little tap. There, that thing's in there permanently. And if you want to make it look nice, I took a scrap piece of 1/4 inch, not particle wood, but this press board or whatever it is, and I just cut it on the bottom here for around the corners. Take this, put a couple screws in it, and you have corner pieces that protect this whole thing and look pretty nice. So there you have it. Very simple way of installing these rods versus drilling the holes through it. Just put them on top. And again, there's several ways. If you don't want to put a complete piece like this on it to cover it up, you could either put a small piece on each of the tops right here to hold it so it doesn't slide. Put a screw in it to hold it slide. If you use a nail, I don't think you have to put anything because the head of the nail actually digs into the wood there and will hold it in really well. So that's it, folks. Real simple procedure, a lot easier to install the rods this way. And the rods are a lot better option than the eyelets. The eyelets are pretty simple, but the rods work a lot better and support the bag better. So, till next time, this is Tom from VermiBag. Ciao.